the way I discovered basically my epiphany in developing somatic experiencing was in 1969. I was asked to see a woman who had been referred from doctor to doctor to doctor, and eventually, with a panoply of different symptoms, she had migraine, she had what we would call now fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, irritable bowel, interstitial cystitis, difficulty urinating. I mean, name it, she had it. Again, there weren't names for those at that time. And so she had, gone from specialist to specialist and had invasive procedures, and, So finally, she was referred to my friend, my colleague, the psychiatrist. And at that time, I think there was one, Milltown was the tranquilizer, and there was one anti-tricyclic. And he tried those with her, and it made a little bit of difference, but the symptoms were still. And I was developing a mind-body, body-mind practice around that time. I was experimenting with different kinds of relaxation through the body, through body awareness and body movement and so forth. So he thought that maybe some of the relaxation, and she also had panic attacks, severe panic attacks, and agoraphobia. She was too frightened to even leave the house. And she came in with her husband, was, tremendously, you could see, tremendously uncomfortable. He was uncomfortable, and she was, of course, terrified. Her heartbeat was about 110 beats a minute, just boom, 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 boom. So I got her to relax her neck, and her heart rate went down. And I was thinking, oh, wow, that's terrific. I mean, right? I've got my career. Oh, no, really, because at that time otherwise I was going to be a research scientist. So the heart rate went down, and then it shot up and went even higher. It just went like. And what do you think the stupidest thing that anybody could say at a time like that? I mean, calm down. Just relax, Nancy, just relax. Okay. Ridiculously, coincidentally, her heart started going down. And I thought, oh, okay, I have my career back again. But it went down and down and down to about 50 beats a minute. And she turned white. And she strangulated her voice, and she said, I'm dying, doctor, I'm dying, don't let me die. And at that, yeah, exactly. And as I tell the story also, I'm getting that funny feeling in my chest, a little constriction. I mean, that happened 69, but I don't get stuck with it. And at that moment, I had a vision, a waking vision, a waking dream of a tiger getting ready to leap. And I said, Nancy, there's a tiger. Run, escape. Run, climb those rocks and escape. And to both of our amazements, her legs started moving as though she were running. And she would have these waves of trembling and shaking, spontaneous breaths. Her hands would be turned icy cold and then warm. And this went on for 40 minutes. But these cycles, and they started to become softer and softer. And then at the end, she opened her eyes and she said, do you want to know what happened? So I'm thinking, of course I know what happened. This is my method here. And I said, yes. And she said, when you said there was a tiger, I imagined myself running. I could feel myself running. I could feel, it's important, and that's important with the child. He's running, but he's not feeling the running. I said, I could feel the running. I could feel my legs shaking and trembling. I could feel my breath. And when I was looking down from the rocks, I saw myself when I was 4 years old, and I had a tonsillectomy, and at that time they used ether, and they held me down, and of course, for decades, for 20 years, her body was primed and wanting to run, wanting to escape. And when she was able to do that completion, that was the last panic attack that she had, and we did a few more sessions afterwards, and most of her symptoms, if they didn't resolve, they tremendously abated, and I would imagine would continue. So, now again, I use that example actually in a couple of my books, and in my first book, Waking the Tiger, I was like a little bit like I think I made a mistake, because everybody's going to think they do this therapy and then in one session all these symptoms go away. It does happen, but again, most of the people that you see, it's much more of a complex thing. They've had, different degrees of neglect. The people that were supposed to love them and protect them often were the people who hurt them and violated them. So it has a tremendous amount of confusion built in. But still, the same, in my experience, and I think most of my students, is that these same somatic methods work, but you have to do it in a different context, at a different pacing, in a different way.